Grace to you and peace from God our Father and our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. It's good for you. It's good for you. I'm sure you have heard those words before. You probably have said those words to other people before. I've said those words to my kids before. I've said those words to some of you before. It's good for you. But of course, when that phrase is used, that means that whatever you are going through at the moment is not very fun and it's not very easy. And so we have to be reminded that no matter how difficult, how grueling, how gut-wrenching it might be, in the end, it's good for you. I've experienced plenty of those "it's good for you" moments throughout my life. I vividly remember one afternoon being bent over at the waist with my hands on my knees, thinking to myself, what am I doing here? It's in the middle of a grassy field, face dripping with sweat, lungs burning, legs feeling like jello, about to start to dry heave because we were in the middle of 40-yard wind sprints in full football gear, 100-degree heat, and suppressive Nebraska humidity, 3-a-day practices the week before high school classes started again. And I thought I was done. I did not know if I was going to be able to finish that practice without discarding the contents of my stomach in a very violent and unpleasant way. I made it through that practice unscathed, and the next, but it wasn't easy, and it wasn't fun, but in the end, it was worth it, because it was good for me. Of course, every year there were always a few freshmen that didn't make it through. There's always a few kids that quit within the first day or two because they wanted to be part of a team without putting in the work. They wanted to have fun without exerting too much effort, because it wasn't just the 40-yard wind sprints in full gear and 100-degree heat, of course. It also involved some intense weightlifting sessions and learning an entire playbook, which was just more homework, and one-on-one competitions and practice drills and coaches pushing you to your physical and your mental limits and then pushing you even farther. And so although it was good for everyone on the field, there are always a few kids that didn't want to see it through. To them, that temporary pain was not worth long-term success. We have all gone through these kinds of training sessions in our lives. Maybe it wasn't physical, but I'm talking about the hard work. I'm talking about the strenuous effort. I'm talking about the strain and the pain and the grind that someone made you go through. And it wasn't easy. And it wasn't fun. And it was probably something that you never want to do again. But it was good for you. It's part of what has made you who you are today. It helped you mature as an adult. It taught you the value of adversity and perseverance. It forged your emotions and your minds so that you are able to make it through other difficulties in the days to come. You probably didn't like the situations at the moment or the people who put you through them. But now looking back, you are glad that they did, because it was good for you. Your Father in heaven puts you through these training sessions as well. Sometimes it's called discipline. He disciplines you. Just like a father in this life disciplines his children for their good, your heavenly Father disciplines you for your eternal good. And he does it not because he doesn't care for you. He does it because he loves you as his own child. Here are these words from Hebrews chapter 12 again. Have you also forgotten the encouragement that addresses you as sons? My son, do not regard the Lord's discipline lightly, and do not become weary of his correction. For the Lord disciplines the one whom he loves, and he corrects every son he accepts. Endure suffering as discipline. God is dealing with you as sons. Is there a son whose father does not discipline him? If you are not disciplined, and all of us have received it, then you are illegitimate children and not sons. In addition, we have earthly fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them. Should we not submit even more to the Father of the spirits and live? They disciplined us for a little while, according to what seemed best to them, but God disciplines us for our good, so that we may have a share in his holiness. No discipline seems pleasant when it is happening, but painful. Yet later it yields a peaceful harvest of righteousness for those who have been trained by it. The Lord disciplines you because he loves you. But that means he's going to push you to new limits. He's going to stretch you in ways that hurt sometimes. He is going to place you in situations that are far beyond your comfort zone. And he's going to let you struggle a little bit. He's going to allow you to fail sometimes. He is going to wait and watch as he gently guides the events of your life as you struggle to find your footing and figure out which way is up. And sometimes this discipline, this spiritual training, is going to leave you bent over at the waist with your hands on your knees, sweat dripping off of your head, your lungs burning, your legs like jello, and your stomach turning over. But it's good for you. Because your God is training you. He's training you not just as a person. He's training you as a Christian. He is working over your faith. He is molding your confidence in him. He is refining your trust in his power and his love. He is setting everything up so that one day you are going to be able to share in his holiness when you get to heaven. That doesn't make going through God's discipline any easier at the time. But it is nice to know that in the end it's going to be worth it, because right now it's good for you. Of course, sometimes the Lord's discipline is so difficult. And sometimes the spiritual training drags on so long that you might start to think something that thousands of Christians have entertained for thousands of years. You might start to ask yourself the question, why is God punishing me? What did I do wrong? What am I supposed to learn from all of this before he takes it away? Is he getting back at me for something? Is God mad at me? Let's make one thing clear. God is not mad at you when he is disciplining you. God is not punishing you when your faith seems to be stretched in 5 different ways at once. Your Father does not punish his children like they deserve, because the Father has already punished his Son. Punishment, real punishment from the real God, does not consist of the daily difficulties that you have to deal with in this life. That's not punishment. Real punishment from the real God looks like an innocent man whose face has been bruised and beaten because of the fists of the high priest's henchmen. Real punishment looks like a prisoner whose back has been left in red, tattered shreds because of the scourge whips of the Roman soldiers. Real punishment looks like thorns pressed into a skull and nails pounded into flesh and a battered body posted up onto a cross. That's punishment. Real punishment has that metallic odor of blood pouring out of the wounds that covered Jesus' body from head to toe. Smells of the wine vinegar that was soaked in a sponge and thrust up into his face. It has that stench of stale sweat that had covered his body from the night before. That's punishment. But this real punishment from God himself that Jesus himself had to undergo was just the beginning. God's punishment is not confined to the sadistic human ability to torture someone else. God's punishment is far worse than that. God's punishment is all-encompassing. God's punishment is a complete abandonment in every way. God's punishment is a total rejection of any plea, any chance, any hope. God's punishment, the real punishment, that is a final sentence of hell brought on by hundreds of millions of sins, crashing down all at once, crushing the convicted with an unbearable weight of countless crimes. This kind of punishment sounds like Jesus crying out to his Father on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" This kind of punishment looks like the sun blacked out for hours on end as Jesus suffers on the cross. This kind of punishment feels like an intense earthquake that split rocks apart when Jesus died, that split the curtain in two in the temple, that broke the tombs apart in Jerusalem, and many people actually rose from the dead. This punishment, the real punishment from God himself, was so intense and so monumental that it actually killed the Son of God himself. That's punishment. You have not been punished by your Father. You will never face that punishment from God himself, because the Father has already punished the Son. God the Father treated God the Son like he was the enemy, that he was the one who had opposed his will, as if Jesus was the one who was the defiant, rebellious, mutinous, simple human being that each one of us had proved ourselves to be. And it's good for us. It's good for us that God the Father treated God the Son like the enemy, because now God the Father treats us like his children. And as his children, he does not punish us to the full extent of his law. Instead, he disciplines us to the full extent of his love. Because he does not want us to get off track. He does not want us to stray away. He does not want us to lose that precious gift of faith that he has given us through his word. And so he's going to keep after us. He's going to keep training us. He's going to keep disciplining us. And it's not going to be easy. And it's not going to be fun. And it's actually going to hurt. If it's going to be any good for you at all, it should hurt. If there is no strain, we are not going to grow. If there's no pain, we are not going to progress. If there is no tension, if there is no pressure, if there is no reason to exert yourself in any way, then our faith will continue to atrophy, and we will become weaker and weaker and weaker. Our Father definitely doesn't want that. But he can't just sit back and wait for us to strengthen our own faith whenever we feel like it, because we never could do that even if we wanted to. That's why our Father puts a plan in place for each of us. He writes up a training regimen that is going to cover every facet of your faith at different times and in different ways. He sets up a schedule for you to make sure that none of us are going to become spiritually out of shape. Our eternity is on the line. So I hope you're ready for it. I realize that you've gone through some of these training sessions already in your life. Each one of us has been disciplined in different ways by the Lord, and in various facets and aspects and situations of our years on this earth. But there's more to come. There are more drills. There are more training exercises. There is more discipline. not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. And it might even bring you to your knees. But it's going to be good for you. I promise it's going to be good for you. Because your Father is training you. And He knows what is best for you. Not just on this earth, of course, but ultimately in heaven. And so welcome these challenges. Look forward to these tests. Find joy in these sufferings, just as the Apostle Paul once did. Someone who definitely went through his share of sufferings and tests and challenges in his life. We rejoice in our sufferings, he wrote. We rejoice in our sufferings because sufferings produce perseverance. And perseverance, character. And character, hope. And hope, Paul says, does not disappoint us. Those are words of a mature Christian. That's the mindset of someone who has been disciplined by his Lord a few times. That is an outlook on life from a person who has been trained by the Lord year in and year out. Someone who has a sure hope in heaven. Someone who has an unbreakable peace in His forgiveness. Someone who has an unshakable strength in God's power. Someone who has an unrelentless rest in His Savior's arms. That's where we want our faith to be one day, don't we? And your Father is going to help get you there. Through training, through pain, through discipline. It's not going to be fun. It's definitely not going to be easy. It's probably going to hurt. But it's good for you.